This episode is brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. It's a special thing to be a member of Navy Federal because they are a member-owned, not-for-profit credit union that invests in its members with amazing rates and low fees. That's why members could earn and save more every year. Plus, they serve all branches of the armed forces, veterans, and their families. So if you're interested in becoming a member, learn more at NavyFederal.org. At Navy Federal Credit Union, our members are the mission. Insured by NCUA.
Bring home Napoleon.
Destiny has brought me here.
The action epic from acclaimed director Ridley Scott.
What is your name?
Napoleon.
You are the greatest leader in the history of the world.
Witness the rise.
You are nothing without me.
Of the legend. Starring Academy Award winner Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby.
I'm the first to admit when I make a mistake. I simply never do.
Napoleon. Buy or rent on digital now. Rated R.
Episode 156, How to Avoid Impulse Spending.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast, where you'll learn to save money, embrace simplicity, and live a richer life. Here are your hosts, Jen and Jill.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast. My name is Jen.
My name is Jill.
And for the 156th time, we are introducing ourselves. And most of you probably still don't know which one is which.
I'm so excited because today marks a special day. It's why I sang even more than I normally do it during our intro. It is, tell them, Jen,
our third anniversary of doing Frugal Friends. We've been doing this for 3 whole years.
We can hardly believe it. I can't even believe we've been friends for that long.
We've been friends for longer than that.
That's true.
Technically, because we did know each other.
We hung out yesterday and realized it was literally the 4-year anniversary of the first time we met. So many special things happening.
Yes. So we are excited to record this episode for the second time because the first time I had technical difficulties.
We still aren't perfect.
Right. After 3 years. Yes. And much like in personal finance, you will do it for a really long time and you will never be perfect at it.
Good segue.
So that's the moral of our podcasting journey. And since we're doing this again, we don't have to waste time. We can get right into our sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by the Frugal Friends Florida Meetup. This year, we are doing a few in-person meetups, socially distanced, safe, outside, all the works. And so our first one is actually tomorrow, April 17th in St. Petersburg, Florida. So to get the information on that, you can go to frugalfriendspodcast.com/meetup. There will be food, there will be fun, there will be friends, free food, and other free things at the meetup. So if you are in the area, anywhere in Florida, please visit frugalfriendspodcast.com/meetup, see where we'll be, and we hope to see you there.
We got something really weird sent to us in the mail from Hulu that we're going to share with you all, and it's going to be a blast. So that'll be a surprise.
Yes.
But you're going to love it. Also brought to you by accidental success, like microwaves, penicillin, Post-it notes, the X-ray machine, this podcast. Accidental success. Don't be afraid of messing up. It may just turn into a massively good thing.
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Which is fitting because 3 years ago, we just thought we were having fun trying out a podcast, and now look at us.
Yeah.
We're on the front page of Apple Podcasts.
We just thought we were Valley girls just shooting the breeze.
Yeah, I always thought of myself as a Valley girl.
Right. And now
Philly.
other people still think of us as that, just with 3 more years of podcasts under our belt.
Yeah, master's level from Philly, Valley girl. That makes sense.
Absolutely. So speaking of episodes, if you are interested in impulse spending and you want to queue up some of our episodes to play after this, definitely head back into the archives and queue up episode 128, which is our episode on emotional spending with Leslie Tane. That one was really, really good.
Love that
and
one.
then episode 133, how to avoid holiday impulse buying. We mentioned the holidays, but really it could come around any holiday or birthday or significant event. You can find some really valuable things in that one. So definitely great episodes to queue up for after this one.
Yes. Let's get into it. Let's talk about impulse spending and how to avoid it.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear your thoughts on our first quote unquote article. It's actually an infographic. And so if you visit our show notes, you will be able to see the infographic. But I thought that this had a lot of really great data, and we wanted to share this with you. So Jill already shared some of your thoughts before we started recording, but let me know what you think of this.
I don't want to bash it before we talk about some of the good stuff of it.
Well, let's talk about the good stuff. It's called The Psychology of Consumer Spending, and it's a lot of statistics, but it's from Illinois Lending.
Yes. So it gives us just a basic snapshot of some of the compulsive shopping statistics, what we typically purchase when we compulsively shop, how much we spend in credit cards versus cash spending, reasons for compulsive shopping. Like the infographic states, the psychology behind it, some of the mental reasons behind it, which always comes first. Our thoughts and feelings always come before an action. So we have to make those connections when we're looking at behaviors. So I think it helps to highlight those pieces. One of the things that struck me, just because it is at the top of this infographic, and it gets thrown around a lot, so I want to make sure that we look at this. It does talk about, it states that shopping addiction affects about 5% of the population. I just want to state here, we can throw around the word addiction and not really know what we're talking about here. Shopping addiction is not actually a diagnosable behavioral concern. While compulsive shopping can certainly lead to some negative things and have some adverse consequences, it's not actually in the DSM. We can't actually diagnose a shopping addiction. So I don't know where they're getting that percentage. It's not a diagnosable thing. It's not actually an addiction. Certainly, it can lead to some really maladaptive, difficult things in people's lives. But I just want to state that at the forefront.
Yeah, but I mean, it does have some usable stats that can really put compulsive shopping into perspective, because that is a thing. We do tend to overuse the word addiction on some things, but it doesn't negate the fact that shopping frequently, especially when unplanned, does have negative effects. So the first stat that it states on here is over 90% of people who shop today make occasional impulse purchases that they didn't tend to buy initially. So I would really argue that 100% of people who shop make some kind of occasional impulse buy. It doesn't matter who you are.
It's easy to do,
Yeah.
Especially when you see something that, this might fit a need. It wasn't necessarily on my list, but might as well get it, or something inexpensive. I mean, maybe not every trip, but even as an intentional shopper and a frugal person, I'm sometimes throwing in a pack of gum I didn't plan on buying.
Absolutely.
I do
Well,
like
you
gum.
love gum, yeah. I would also argue with this stat. We really said we weren't going to bash it before we highlighted the good things, but here we are. It says women may comprise, I love that ambiguity in statistics, up to 92% of compulsive shoppers. And I believe that statistically women do make more home purchases than men. That's data backed. But I do argue the fact that 92% of compulsive shoppers are women, because I know a lot of men, just because they're buying different things, are still buying things that are unplanned.
Well, the compulsive part isn't gender specific. Anyone can be compulsive and impulsive. So, all right, let's just move past that first section.
Okay. I will point out, this is a stat I do believe. Among compulsive shoppers, 58% have large debts. But that's a lot of people. Like, even if you're not a compulsive shopper, you can still have a large amount of student loan debt or maybe medical debt or something.
Yeah. The common purchases. So I liked this section as well as the reasons for impulse purchasing. But the most common purchases that we will make when we're shopping compulsively is clothing, household items, shoes, jewelry, and items on sale.
The big five.
The big five. And all of these relative luxuries, right? Jewelry, shoes, household items, clothing. We're not talking food. We're not compulsively shopping for food. Sometimes, though, I'm like throwing ice cream in my cart that I don't need. But these are the items that, and I think it's helpful to know, okay, these are the big five, or even dig deeper to say which one is the one you typically go to. For me, it's definitely clothing. So if I'm out and about and I'm not actually planning on going for clothing, I won't even go up and down those aisles. Already talking about how to avoid impulsive shopping. And items on sale. Definitely, you can always find me in the clearance section.
That's mine.
That's such a fallacy that you're actually saving money when you're buying clearance items. You might be buying discounted items, but you're still spending money. So if you didn't need those items, it's not a good deal. And it often leads to compulsive purchases because, oh man, I've never seen this price on this type of item before. I better just buy it, but I don't actually have a use for it. So beware, shoppers.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about this back in our holiday impulse shopping episode, is that retailers will mark up things so that they can put them on sale, because a sale is a marketing technique. It's not to help you. It is marketing because, again, items on sale is one of the big five.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, definitely for me. So I know that. I liked this credit card versus cash spending section. And so I am a diehard credit card user. I don't use cash because it's inconvenient for me. And I have practiced frugality long enough to where I can use a credit card with confidence. I love the cash envelope method when you're first starting out and you really need to see what you're spending and how you're spending it. I love that. But it does say that $22 is the average cash transaction, while $112 is the average non-cash transaction, which was super. The difference there is wide, and I can see why. Like, if I'm purchasing something very expensive, I'm obviously not going to pay in, cash bills. Like, if I'm buying a car on Craigslist, I might use a check. I don't know if that's what they mean by like non-cash, but it definitely is big. So that's like important to note if you're trying to reduce your impulse spending or reduce your spending in general. A cash diet could be a really great way to kickstart that.
Yeah, you're not going to be likely to spend more than $22 on a transaction. Yeah, it's shocking also how few people actually pay off their credit cards each month. This statistic states 45%, so less than half of people will pay off their credit cards each month. I imagine within our Frugal Friends community, that percentage would be much higher just because of our intentionality in looking at these things. But even for that reason, recognizing we may be less likely to pay off a credit card, so cash can really help us to tighten and rein this in and be more in tune with what we're purchasing, why we're purchasing. Yeah, do we want to be spending money on this thing?
It's really common to have revolving credit card debt. Even like if you're not struggling financially, like I know so many people tell me it's like, yeah, I have a couple grand in credit card debt. And I'm like, you have like a 6-figure job. You have you have these things. Why can't you just pay off this credit card debt really quick in like a month or two and then keep it paid off? I guess it's one of those things. I guess I view them on the outside. It looks like they're doing well, but I don't know what's happening on the inside. But it is one of those things where it's like credit card debt is notorious for being like the one thing that all financial professionals agree on. Like some people love debt and some people hate it, but everybody hates credit card debt.
Yeah.
So one thing we can all agree on. So like it's the first kind of debt that should be going.
Credit card debt, the unifier.
It is, really brings us all together.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry, and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing. And of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/strategic. That's oracle.com/strategic. oracle.com/strategic.
Hi, I'm Martine Hackett, and I'm hosting the second season of Untold Stories, Life with a Severe Autoimmune Condition, a production from Ruby Studio in partnership with Argenix, sharing real stories of MG, CIDP, and other autoimmune conditions. We hope to share inspiration and educate the larger community about these severe and often overlooked conditions.
I can't fix this, I can't cure this. And, I'll take my treatment day by day, but I want to try to be engaged, be involved, or be as helpful as I feel I can with the limitations I have of working full time to children. So I participate in market research to provide information to hopefully benefit others, because it's a small margin of people that have the myasthenia, but then to get pregnant, it's an even more narrow margin. And you can't never have too much information as an epidemiologist.
Yeah, exactly right. Listen to Untold Stories, Life with a Severe Autoimmune Condition on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, this next section gets into some reasons for compulsive shopping. And I'm going to tread lightly, carefully, and gently here because it is getting more into some deeper emotional roots and does require some soul searching, some looking at what is the why behind some of the compulsive shopping tendencies that I may have, especially if this is a very common thing. And please be kind to yourself if you see that this is happening. We don't mention these things because just to leave ourselves there, but to assess, to highlight what's happening, and then to identify steps forward. We're not going to be able to change behaviors if we're also not looking at the thoughts and feelings that lead to those behaviors. So some of the things that this states, and I'll affirm that these can be present. They're not all of them are true, not all of them have to be present, and this is not an exhaustive list, but certainly feelings of loneliness or depression or feeling out of control could lead somebody to go to the store and want to cope. It can be a coping mechanism. The first bullet point that they put on here is a pretty intensive one.
Yeah.
An emotionally deprived childhood. They just kick it off with something pretty intense. And that can be true. It's not true every time, but where we are lacking something, where we're feeling a void, we will seek to fill that void, sometimes with beneficial things, sometimes with non-beneficial things. Compulsive shopping can be one of those. An inability to tolerate negative feelings or not wanting to look at some of the negative feelings. This is a way that, let me just go purchase something. I like the high that I get from it. I want to feel good. This will make me feel good. Sometimes there can be comorbidity between compulsive shopping and using that as a coping mechanism and hoarding. So when we talk about frugality and minimalism going hand in hand, certainly compulsive shopping and hoarding can go hand in hand. Again, all of those are rooted in some emotional and mental health concerns as well. A desire to seek excitement, a need for approval, lack of impulse control, a desire to have control. Any of these things can lead to making purchases that I did not intend to make. don't just take our word for it. Do your own research on this. Consider your own patterns and the ways that you cope, and not just removing this, right? Not just taking these tips and no longer compulsive shopping, but replacing it with something, still caring for yourself. These are some deep-rooted things. And so definitely looking for ways to care for yourself in that place that is beneficial for you.
Yeah, they definitely put in some deep ones on here, but it is good to, when you are shopping, to kind of take a look at, okay, what is my mental state right now? I was looking on Instagram to see like where I saw this, but there was a post that was like, try to, it was an acronym, but try to figure out like, am I angry? Am I hungry? Am I like sad? Or try to take a checklist of, is essentially a checklist of kind of your emotions and your mental state, like when you're shopping. And that can kind of help you point back to some of the reasons that might be for your compulsive shopping. Because there's going to be, there's going to be a feeling, and then you're going to track that back to, okay, like, why am I feeling that? What is this is the result of what in my life? And then if you keep doing that, eventually you'll notice a pattern, and then you can get to the root cause. But we don't get there until we take a pause and try to figure it out. And so the first step isn't being perfect in not shopping or not impulse shopping. The first step is to figure out, okay, why? So let's not fight our psychology. Let's try and work with it so that we can solve this problem.
Speaking of solving the problem, let's get into some tips on how to do this.
Absolutely.
So this next article comes from developgoodhabits.com. What a place to be on the internet.
Yes.
And they give us 9 tips to curb this spending, to stop our impulse buying, interrupt that pattern. And the first one I love, it talks about having a 30-day, 90-day, a 30-day, like a 30-day wait list. So if there is something that you want, be patient with it. Start a list, write it down. And if you still want it 30 days from now, great, get it, budget for it. But this just helps to slow us down and not purchase immediately something that we may not actually want. It's just feeding another need that we have.
Finder.com has an extension called Icebox, and I know it works for Chrome and Firefox. It might work for Safari, but it essentially replaces the Buy Now button at major sites with a Put It on Ice button. And so you put it on ice, and then you decide the cool-off time, 30 days, 2 weeks, whatever. And after that cool-off time, the button will turn back into a Buy Now button. So obviously you can turn it off, and there's ways around it. But it is just like a little barrier if you want to practice some patience. I think the only one that we really have trouble with is the grocery store, because obviously you have to eat. But I think with the rise of online grocery shopping, that has really become easier. So we can stay out of the Aldi aisle of shame.
The Aldi finds aisle.
Stop.
Nothing in that aisle is ever on my list, but Aldi found it for me. So.
Right. And it's here for a limited time. Yes. But just like, don't expect more, like, don't expect so much of yourself. Like, not because you're not capable, but just because your brain has a finite amount of willpower. And once you exhaust it, you can't expect like anything else from it. That's like how I find myself after my kid goes to bed. Like, I've done so good all day, and then I'm like, Travis, please leave and go get me some ice cream. Or tiramisu from Publix was the latest one. But like, just avoid it. I mean, just look at yourself like you're, it's like, I can't do this, so I can't even touch it.
I will say ordering groceries online has helped with food impulse purchases.
Same, yeah.
Because I'm not passing all these other things up and down the aisle. I've got a very specific list. I just search that list and put it in my cart. So yes, that is a great tip for that one. Number 3 on the list is to find free ways to reward yourself. So sometimes the impulsive shopping is a result of, I deserve this, or I had a really hard day, or I need to celebrate and let me just go out and spend money. It's not about the actual thing. It's about the experience of it. But then by the end of the day, you've spent money. So it's still important to reward ourselves, to celebrate, but to find free ways of doing that. I know for me, just being outside is a reward, especially now that I live in Florida and the sun shines here constantly. Going to the beach is a reward. Going near water is a reward. Anything, right? Brainstorm yourself. What is life-giving to you? And do those things before you seek to spend money as a celebration.
6 is always have a list and plan for your purchases. This saves me a lot. I'm kind of flighty in the sense that I tend to get distracted easily. I'll do one thing and then I'll remember I have to do another, and then I'll go do that, and then I'll do something else. I kind of have a hard time finishing things, even though like finishing is kind of like my fulfillment. So I have to have a list. If I have a list and I have things written down and a plan, then I feel like then I can actually get things accomplished. And it's the same thing with impulsive spending. If you have a list, then you can stick to it, and you can feel once you've accomplished your list, you no longer need to put anything into your cart because you have accomplished the task at hand. You can feel proud of yourself. And I don't know if this works for everyone, but it definitely does for me. Once I've completed my list, I'm like, yes, let's get out of here. Yes. But planning and listing is so helpful when trying to control your spending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and having a use for it ultimately. So it also keeps you from bringing things into your home that you don't actually have a plan for, don't need, won't use. Mm-hmm. I like number 5 on here too, which is to be mindful of your reaction to impulse spending. So keeping track of what has happened in the past when I've made an impulse purchase, what happened just before, what happened during, what happened after inside of me, my emotions, my thoughts, even some of my visceral reactions. And are those feelings worth the purchase? One of my good friends, shout out to Sharon, has been keeping an emotional journal along with tracking her spending. And I think we talked about this in the interview with Leslie Tain as well, kind of taking that tracking of spending to the next level, where you mark down, maybe even when you want to purchase something, what just happened in your circumstances? What are you feeling around that? What is it leading you to want to purchase? And even just slowing yourself down in that way can help interrupt the pattern. But it can also help us to identify where patterns exist. Like, oh, when I'm feeling angry, that's when I typically go to shop for this thing online. Or when I'm feeling really down or sad or my day didn't go well. And just beginning to be more aware of ourselves, more mindful of what's happening in our experiences can help us to identify, again, more beneficial ways to respond to those emotions. So I know that that's next level, but it can be really helpful. I just love that idea of pairing the finances and the emotional and mental health together because they do go hand in hand. We just often don't always want to look at those things, but track your spending and your emotions side by side. Try it out. Let us know how it goes.
Yeah, I fully believe that it's about working with your psychology and not working against it. So instead of off all purchases and just restricting yourself to living under a rock, let's look at, okay, what are my quote unquote issues? Like what are my, the things that keep me from succeeding? How can I either overcome them or work with them until they're overcome? And then also, what are the things that light me up and how can I indulge those in a free way? Like there's so much to be said for finding out like what's underneath the surface and working with that, because that in the end is sustainable. If you're trying to work against it, this lifestyle, the frugal lifestyle, will not be sustainable.
Do you know what lights me up every week for the past 3 years? The bill of the week.
That's right. It's time for the best minute of your entire week. Maybe a baby was born and his name is William. Maybe you paid off your mortgage. Maybe your car died and you're happy to not have to pay that bill anymore. Duck bills, Buffalo Bills, Bill Clinton. This is the bill of the week.
Okay, so my bill of the week is going to be pet supplies. So like all their food, all their grooming, everything. And that's because I really love my pets dearly. So even though they can be pricey, it is well worth it.
Yes, I love that. I mean, I don't have any pets, but I know people love their pets.
It sounds like you take such good care of your pet. And we love these bills where people are values-based spending.
Yes.
It's not about constantly cheaping out in every category of life, but saving where we can to be able to spend where we want to. So that's so sweet. Thanks for calling in your bill about your pet supplies because you love your pet so much.
Yeah, so you can buy all those cool toys and make all those cute videos that we see on social media. I want to see them from you. So in light of doing 2 bills of the week, here is our next one.
Hi, Jen and Jill. This is Romy from Gainesville, Florida. My bill of the week is that earlier this month, I posted on the Frugal Friends Facebook page about my laundry room drywall in need of extensive repairs and comparing estimated costs between hiring a contractor versus a handyman. Well, thanks to the helpful replies to my post, I ended up hiring no one and doing the repairs myself. That alone saved me about $2,800, and I learned more about home repair. And because I had $2,000 budget to start with from a check my homeowner's insurance had given me for repairs, I was able to hire help to cover additional things on my improvement list, such as floor installation, water heater installation, window repair, and my air conditioning, annual maintenance. So all of that, I was still able to come under budget. Now my savings is about $750, money that I pay back to my savings for unexpected expenses in the previous month. And that is my bill of the week. Thank you for all that you guys do. I look forward to learning more from you guys every Friday. Bye.
Oh my gosh. I love that. And that is from the Frugal Friends community.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Romy, how amazing to not be fearful of all these daunting repairs, but to figure out how to do it yourself. That definitely takes grit and problem solving and just a frugal mentality. So well done on all of these renovations that you did yourself and then saving money, and then the money that you saved you put back into your savings. So many amazing things happening here. Thanks for sharing that, Bill.
Yes.
If you want to submit your bill of the week, visit frugalfriendspodcast.com/bill. Leave us your bill if it's about spending money on things that you love to spend money on or saving money on things that you could just do yourself. Let us know.
We love to hear them all. Today's bill of the week is brought to you by Policy Genius. April can mean some not so fun things. Getting fooled, getting rained on, getting your taxes done. So if you need a positive experience to balance it all out, consider shopping for home and auto insurance with Policy Genius.
Head to policygenius.com and answer a few quick questions about yourself and your property. Then Policy Genius takes it from there. They compare rates from America's top insurers like Progressive and Allstate, and they find you the lowest quotes.
The Policy Genius team will look at all the ways to maximize your saving, including bundling your home and auto policies. And if Policy Genius can find a better rate than what you're paying now, they'll switch you over for free. That kind of service has earned Policy Genius a 5-star rating across thousands of reviews on Trustpilot and Google.
Policy Genius can promise that you won't leave their website feeling like a fool this April. They've saved customers up to $1,055 per year to their current home and auto policies. Head over to policygenius.com to get started right now. Policy Genius, when it comes to insurance, it's nice to get it right.
Hi, I'm Martine Hackett, and I'm hosting the second season of Untold Stories, Life with a Severe Autoimmune Condition, a production from Ruby Studio in partnership with argenx. Sharing real stories of MG, CIDP, and other autoimmune conditions, we hope to share inspiration and educate the larger community about these severe and often overlooked conditions.
I can't fix this. I can't cure this. And, I'll take my treatment day by day, but I want to try to be engaged, be involved, or be as helpful as I feel I can with the limitations I have of working full time to children. So I participate in market research to provide information to hopefully benefit others, because it's a small margin of people that have the myasthenia, but then to get pregnant, it's an even more narrow margin. And you can't ever have too much information as an epidemiologist.
Yeah, exactly right. Listen to Untold Stories, Life with a Severe Autoimmune Condition on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Instacart shoppers know groceries. They know that you can't make guacamole with rock-hard avocados. They know how to quickly find those peanut butter pretzels you can never find. And they keep you in the know by giving you updates about your order along the way. Let Instacart shoppers help take shopping off your plate so you can get time and energy back for what really matters. Visit instacart.com or download the app to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $10. Additional terms apply. Instacart. Add life to cart.
And now it's time for
the lightning round. So we are going to talk about our latest impulse buys, because I am convinced 100% of people make impulse purchases because 100% of people are not perfect.
And we will be the first to admit it, because Jen loves to admit our failures.
I love
and
it.
Expose
I love
to
sharing
you our
them.
vulnerabilities.
I love it. So that's why I'm going to go
so
first.
Go first.
Yeah,
if you love it so much.
That's why I'm going to go first. So at first I was thinking I did impulse buy a bag of veggie straws because they were on sale. That was my first thought. So that is a thing that I recently did. But I was like, I'm not going to, that's going to be like a slap in the face to Jill's. So
because you know how bad mine is.
Mine was a trip to St. Augustine. We planned it kind of last minute, and it was just kind of like a getaway because I miss traveling, and it wasn't in the budget. We could have put it in the budget, I guess, but we were just like, everybody's free that weekend. We can go. Booked without a second thought.
I mean, we went with you on that Florida trip. And so I guess that kind of also makes it an impulse purchase for me too. Well, we did have money set aside for vacations. We just pulled it out of that.
We did not. So that was our last impulse spend.
All right, Jen, here's mine. Oh, Eric and I just bought a house. Those of you who have been listening for a while, you know this. We are first-time home buyers. We're fixing things up. We've been focusing on the outdoors mostly. You've probably heard that Eric is on Facebook Marketplace constantly, and he often finds really great deals, including that he wanted to, at one point, purchase an indoor water feature, which I immediately vetoed. It did lead to a little bit of tension. Talked about that in a previous episode. So sometimes I have control. However, when it came to this one, he found a spiral staircase like that you could put outside, an all wood spiral staircase outdoors, beautiful, on Facebook Marketplace, used. I totally co-signed for that one. Didn't plan on having a spiral staircase. Don't actually have a solid use for it, except that it's stunning and I love spiral staircases, and we nearly have a flat roof. So we put it outside, put it up against our flat roof. We just go on the roof. People come over. They're like, where does that go? We're like, the roof. Like, what's up there? We're like, nothing. You could just get up on the roof.
Where's it go? The roof. What's up there? The roof.
Yes. You can kind of see good sunsets from there, but it's really just about spiral staircases. I love it. I mean, really, I'm pleased for it. No looking back, but it 100% was an impulse buy. We do not need a spiral staircase. It does look stunning, but didn't plan for it at all.
I bet you could see amazing sunrises from the roof.
No one's up that early.
Well, one day.
No one in their right mind.
I'll test it one day. Yeah. We would love to hear your impulse buys and impulse buys that you're overcoming. Seriously, if you're in a store and you were about to buy a bag of veggie straws on sale and then you heard my voice in your head and you said, no, I'm not going to do it. Please hang out with us in the Frugal Friends community on Facebook, frugalfriendspodcast.com/group, and tell us about it. And thank you so much for listening for 3 years. Whether you've been with us from the beginning or you are a new listener, we love you and we appreciate you. And you are the lifeblood of this show. You are the reason we do it.
So true.
And yeah, I feel silly saying that I'm a podcaster, but I'll never quit as long as there are people listening to this show. And thousands of you do every week. So we are so blessed by you. And thank you so much for your kind reviews on iTunes and Stitcher, like this one from Britty27, just happens to be 5 stars. They say, my favorite podcast. I love listening to the Frugal Friends podcast. Jen and Jill make it feel like you're chatting with a couple of your best friends. The podcast has given me great tips, along with helping me attempt my first no-spend month a little over 1 week to go. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Britty.
Those no spend challenges, those will also help to rein in some impulse.
Absolutely.
Spending. We also want to thank our friends who share these episodes on social media. So when you share the latest episode and tag us on Facebook or Instagram, we add you to our monthly drawing. For every 5 tags and reviews we get each month, we give away a copy of the Frugal Friends workbook.
So keep leaving us reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. They help more than you could ever know.
Yes.
And send the screenshot to frugalfriendspodcast@gmail.com to enter that giveaway and or tag us on social.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Frugal Friends is produced by Eric Sirianni.
Jen, what should we do to celebrate 3 years?
I was thinking we could reminisce on some past, thoughts over the last 3 years, like best memories.
Ooh, yes. 1 million downloads.
1 million downloads was so fun. Mm-hmm. I was so sad. So when we hit 500,000, I was sad that the balloons were too expensive. To get 4 balloons was out of my price range. So when we hit 1 million and I could just get 2 balloons, I was like, yes,
we can afford
so
that
much more
now.
affordable.
And then I reused the balloons for my guests who came in town to make them feel special. They still had helium in them.
They did last for a long time. Those were worth their money, I guess, if you want to have some sturdy reusable balloons.
What about you? What's a highlight?
All of the people that we've gotten to talk to,
Mm-hmm.
I think. So some of my favorites have been Joshua Becker. That was a big one.
Too. I fangirled hard on that interview.
Yes, didn't we all?
He called us smart interviewers, though, afterwards. We didn't catch it. We didn't have it recorded, but I know what he said to us.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, and just a bunch of like rock star women who I don't typically, like, we don't typically feature people from that PR firms send us. Like, we find our guests. Mm-hmm. We're very intentional with the guests we bring on. And so to feature women who have done amazing things in their personal finances that don't typically get recognition elsewhere is probably one of my favorite things that we do.
Highlight for me is the community we've built. Neither one of us or anyone in our immediate surroundings, I think, anticipated that Frugal Friends would actually be where it is today. But so much of that, as we've already said, is because of the community that we've built. But I think it's this surprising, this amazing treasure and surprise that has happened is people have connected with this concept, with this idea, with this thing that they're already doing and looking for friends like them, community like them. I love that We are 3 years in, and I really feel like it's not about me, Jill, you, Jen. It's about the Frugal friends community, the tips that we all get to share together, the camaraderie, the mutual understanding, the fun. That has been really surprising to me and incredibly enjoyable. Such a gift that has come out of this.
I don't know another podcast doing this. And I mean, and having what we have with the little community we've built, you know, I'm sure they're out there, but like, ours is so unique and welcoming and inclusive, and it is a treasure. It is surely a treasure, and something I didn't anticipate when we made this Facebook group literally before episode 1, and we had no one in there, and it was just me posting memes all the time. That's kind of what we were known for at first. Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh. It was just me posting memes like every other day. To see this thing lives on its own. Like this is this lives outside of Jen and Jill.
And we know that because people will join our Facebook group not even knowing about the podcast. We still about once a month get people asking like, what's the name of the podcast? It's like, this is literally, it was the podcast first, then the group. But that's all right. You're just looking for some frugal friends.
Yeah.
we hear.
We hear. It's, and now I like know some of you by name. Like I'm sure you're listening and I know your face and your name.
And I'm like friends with a lot of you outside of the group, and I'm getting like Easter photos. And,
your family, your first home.
Yeah,
like
we're a part of your family now.
It is absolutely, that's a blessing.
Let's celebrate with a meetup tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay. See you in person.
Bye.
Bring home Napoleon.
Destiny has brought me here.
The action epic from acclaimed director Ridley Scott.
What is your name?
Napoleon.
You are the greatest leader in the history of the world.
Witness the rise.
You are nothing without me.
Of the legend. Starring Academy Award winner Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby.
I'm the first to admit when I make a mistake. I simply never do.
Napoleon. Buy or rent on digital now. Rated R.
Need an easy button to feed your baby? Baby Brezza's Formula Pro Advanced makes a perfectly mixed warm formula bottle automatically at the push of a button. No air bubbles, no fuss. Literally, choose your temp, select your ounces, push start, and you're done. Works with virtually all formulas and bottles. Say goodbye to the 3 a.m. feeding chaos and hello to this revolutionary stress-free solution. Raising a baby is hard enough. Let Baby Brezza make feeding a breeze. Get your Formula Pro Advanced at babybrezza.com.